Welcome to the Penny Z Show, where you get to learn how real people overcame real issues. Get ready to take notes and, most importantly, take action. Here's your host, Penny Z.
Hi, this is Penny Z with the Penny Z Show. We are here to transform lives one life at a time with real, relevant, and relatable topics. I'm very excited to introduce my very special guest, Stephanie Simpson, today. She has got a very unique, actually two unique stories that she's going to share with us. Not only her personal story, but she's going to share how she helps her clients, and I'll let her tell her story. But before we talk to Stephanie, let me introduce to you Stephanie Simpson. Stephanie is a personal branding photographer. When you look successful, you feel successful, Stephanie says. As a personal branding photographer, she specializes in helping people see how extraordinary they are by creating a custom tailored brand imaging session so that they can reach their target audience at a single glance. This isn't just a photo session, it's a comprehensive brand strategy experience for reaching your audience, showing off your personality, and designing the perfect brand image for yourself and your company. Stephanie has a master's degree in film and Stephanie has a master's degree in film from Art Center College of Design in Pasadena and a bachelor's degree in advertising from Hampshire College. Please welcome with me our special guest to the Penny Z Show, Stephanie Simpson. Stephanie, welcome.
Thank you.
Fantastic. Well, thank you for making the time to be here for me to have the opportunity to interview and for our listeners to hear a little bit about your story. As I've shared with you, I am in a series called Overcoming the I'm Not Enough story. And all of us have some kind of story, whether it's a short session in our life or it happens to be a season or for many, many years of our life. So I'm very, very fascinated and very curious to hear you share a little bit with our listeners what your I'm Not Enough story is.
Well, you know, I've been in business now for 6 years, and there's nothing like owning a business for teaching the world about yourself to yourself. I know more about myself now having owned this business than I did from like all the previous years of my life, just because you learn what you're good at and you learn what you're not good at really, really quickly. And what I was realizing is that I was reaching a money block. I was doing well, but I was only making just enough. There always seemed to be like I had this amount of much money I needed to make in order to pay my bills, pay my staff, and this was exactly how much I was making every month. So there was no wavering. I was only making this. It was almost like I was bumping into a ceiling with my income every time. And so I realized that like, oh, this must mean I have a block. I have something in there that's keeping me from expanding what I want to do, keeping me from thriving, keeping me from abundance. So I was really like, I have to dig into this. And I'm in a coaching program. I put it out there to my friends. I put it out to my mastermind. Like I need to burst through my money mindset. So I took this on like a challenge. So I worked on it with 2 coaches, 2 masterminds. I read a couple of books. I really was digging in. So I had it kind of in the forefront of my mind, like, what is it that's causing this? And then one day I had a friend text me saying, you know, I'm getting ready for our photo shoot. And this is a friend, someone I've known for years and years. She's like, we've really got to talk about payment because I need to pay you. And in the past I had done shoots for her for free. And I got this icky feeling inside, like, I don't want to deal with this. And I thought, okay, I've got to sit here for a minute, like sit with this feeling. Like, what is it that I'm feeling? And that was really hard because I had to like really like explore like what was going on, what was at the root of this. And the first sentence that came to my mind is money ruins relationships. Like, So I wrote that down and I thought, okay, this is the root of it. Why do I feel like money ruins relationships? I realized that my parents got divorced when I was about 9, and they'd had problems throughout their marriage. And a lot of the problems from my child perspective came from money. And so I realized like, okay, money ruined their relationship. And that was just only part of it. But that was a part of it from my perspective as a child, because that's something that I saw right in front of me. And so money ruined their relationship. So money will ruin my relationships too. So I've always kind of tried to keep my friendships and my business stuff separate. And even though I would never ask one of my friends to give me 15 hours of their time, but giving a free photo shoot is basically saying, sure, I'll do 15 hours of work for you for free. So I would never expect them to do it. So why am I thinking that I should do that for them? So I'm like, hey, yay, I've battled my money mindset. That's got to be, that's it. I've solved the problem. But, you know, that's where it gets complicated and interesting. So I was talking to my mom who lives with me. And I was talking to her about, you know, hey, mom, I think I figured this out. At first, she started taking it personally, like, uh-oh, I ruined my child. Here you are having money problems years later. It's all my fault. It's always the mom's fault. But then I told her, you know, we all have this sort of money blueprint that we deal with. And, you know, it comes from our parents and it comes from our experiences when we're children. And it sort of forms our feelings and thoughts about money and other topics as we grow older. And so I said, no, this is great, Mom. Now that I understand that this is what was going on, and I even identified a couple of stories in my childhood. For instance, we lived in this beautiful mansion of a house in San Marino, California, a very wealthy community, but we didn't have enough money to pay the gardener, Mr. Kishimoto. And so the dichotomy of like living this luxury life and not having enough money to pay the bills and having the Sears guy come and say, couldn't you put $5 on your account, please? And then one day we went to the grocery store and Mom said, hey, take a look at this $100 bill. And I'd never seen one before. She's like, pretty cool, huh? It may be the last one you ever see. And she paid for the groceries. I thought, okay, well, what does that mean? And I remembered these two stories and it sort of said, okay, well, I will have the money. I may not get any more, but I'm going to spend it because we have to. And we're going to live in this like beautiful home, but we can't pay our basic bills. And what does that mean for me? And so I realized that like I was looking like I have a lot and a lot of abundance, but I wasn't getting the income to get me above my absolute threshold. Like this was the minimum I needed and this was what I was making and I needed to be up here in order to thrive. So I started percolating on that. I was talking to Mom and then all of a sudden it was as though the floodgates opened up and I talked to my mom. It's very personal. I hope that's okay. But,
fine, absolutely. The more vulnerable, the better, I think.
This is really vulnerable stuff here because as I was talking to my mom, the same conversation, you know, like, hey, Mom, I solved my money mindset. All of a sudden, the floodgates opened up, and I realized that this was much deeper. And I realized that my mom, for years, has been bashing my dad and talking about how he was a terrible husband, he was a terrible father, he was a terrible this, terrible that. She never did that when he was alive, and he died 40 years ago.
Wow.
But she continues to be on this loop of negativity with him, and now we live together, so I'm hearing it a lot, and yet the man's been dead 40 years. Like, let it go. But I'm still getting it from her about what it, you know, how he was an awful person. And I think all this time I've been thinking, I'm 50% my mom and 50% my dad, and you're bashing half of me. Mm-hmm. And she didn't realize she was doing it. She was thinking it was all about her and her, how she was wronged or whatever. My dad was not a great husband. He was a terrible husband. But he was my dad, and I have gifts that he had, and he had gifts that she won't talk about. So I think I realized that, like, she's basically saying, you're worthless. Your 50% of you is not worthwhile, and only the part that belongs to me is worthwhile. And so poor mom was like, you know, I suddenly like, you know, and I'm like, oh my gosh. And she was just sort of stunned. Poor woman. And she's 82 years old, and she's just sort of stunned at this like tirade that's coming out of me out of nowhere. And so she just sort of shut down, because what do you do in a situation like that? And my brother told me later that he had talked to her about it, and he had sort of helped her to see what maybe I was seeing, and that was helpful. And we've worked everything out. We're fine. We're really close. So that's not a problem. But now that I've realized that a lot of my self-worth and a lot of my limiting beliefs came from this place that had nothing whatsoever to do with me, that it had to do with someone in my family against another person in my family. And none of that is me. I was 11 years old when my dad died. So, you know, that was a long time ago. I can't really take responsibility for that. But now that this is all cleared, I feel so much like this weight has been lifted off my shoulders. I feel like I can earn. I feel like I can value myself. I feel like I can remove these self-limiting beliefs, and that abundance can be in my future because I am worthwhile. It has nothing to do with all that other stuff that had nothing to do with me. So I feel kind of victorious, I have to say. And I think it just ended up feeling for a while like I was being battered and bruised, like really tough therapy session or something. But I feel so much more liberated now. And really, this was only a few months ago. So this is still pretty fresh. So I haven't seen results of that yet. But now whenever money stuff comes up, I can sort of stop myself now that I understand the context and say like, okay, where is this coming from? And maybe I could just let that go and just charge what I need to charge. And it felt really good.
Well, first, congratulations, because that's a lot of what this series is all about, is helping to identify what that is, helping to share tools and techniques that our guests on the Penny Z Show have gone through so that other people, because I am sure, including myself, there are people that are listening, there are people around the world who have had, unfortunately, parents put one against the other. The kids are caught in the middle and sometimes, have major effects. And so congratulations for identifying that, for going through the exercise, for being vulnerable enough and bold enough to share that with your mom and to be able to heal through that. And so I just love that, because I had a similar experience a little bit more like a year, I guess it was about a year ago. And I went through an exercise probably similar, where you have to kind of sit with yourself and figure out, okay, what's going wrong in my life, and why am for me, it was like, why am I feeling less than? Why am I not pretty enough, not smart enough, not tall enough, not athletic enough, just not enough? And I went through probably a similar exercise. I think we talked about it before when we were chatting. And in kind of going back decade by decade, I determined that I had a situation when I was not 6 years old. Yours was 9, mine was 6, where my mom had basically punished me for something. And instead of just leaving it for what it was, I interpreted it as I wasn't good enough. And my little brain just processed that and then carried it with me. And I think so many of us have those childhood experiences and don't even know it until we get to be teenagers or adults. And then we're like, why is this happening in our life? So yeah, thank you for sharing that. That was fantastic. How did that make you feel going through that process? I mean, you kind of did what I call the stop, drop, and roll. You kind of stopped, thought about it, processed it, rolled away from it by going through, the emotional process and talking to your mom and then letting it go. But how did that make you feel?
Well, at first, I think a lot of us try to do anything we can to avoid feeling icky feelings. And so we do things to brush them away or to suppress them. Food has been my coping mechanism for my life. And, other people turn to shopping, they turn to alcohol, they turn to other things. So for me, it was food. But I've been really trying hard to think about how to help my children. I have an 8-year-old and a 13-year-old, and how to help my children work through their feelings. My son in particular, who's 8, he has a hard time managing his feelings. He gets very impassioned about things. Sometimes he turns into the Hulk, and you have to kind of sort of calm him down. He went through a period of storming off and slamming the door, so we've had to work with him on that. But I've been teaching him how to feel his feelings, at the time he's feeling them, so that he can work through them and let them go instead of holding on to them and letting them keep, when you keep them in your body, it's not good for your body, and it's certainly not good for your mental health. So I've been trying to teach him how to do that, but now I sort of have to, walk the walk. And I also don't like the icky feelings, so I do what I can to avoid them. But to sit with it for a minute was pretty powerful, because, when you feel an instant feeling like that, if you can explore it at that moment, if you have that ability to just sit with it for a minute and be like, where is this coming from? There's clarity there. I mean, and it happens fast. It happens really fast when you just take that moment. And so in thinking about that for the long term of my life, if I can continue a pattern of that, think what I could do. I could let go of all this garbage that I just hang on to and stirs and keeps rotating through your mind. If you can let that go for, forever, what a powerful thing. Think who we could become.
Absolutely. And, again, congratulations to you to recognizing that and going through those exercises and that introspection, being able to look in, to be able to make outward adjustments. And then also to be a role model to your children and giving your children the gift now when they are young to hopefully learn how to process that and not take so much of the icky, or the bad feelings with them, or perhaps understand better how to manage them. Because I think that, we all get icky feelings. We have good, bad, anger, frustration, hurt. And it's really more, how do we manage them and not make it affect us for so long in our life, in part of our life. So
Right.
I think that a lot of, go ahead. No, please.
Because I think about like, okay, well, if I had, that thing with the $100 bill, I had when I was maybe 6 or 7 years old. You had something that happened when you were 6 years old, like sometimes like an offhanded comment or a bad day that mom had, or like, something just turned her day. I mean, we all can get stressed. It's okay. But to think that it could be like damaging my children from some offhanded comment and it's already fixed in place. And I did it like 5 years ago. It's just the pressure of parenting. Oh my gosh.
Well, before you didn't know what you didn't know, and now you know what you didn't know. So we do better when we know what we know, right? I think that's confusing, but yeah, we didn't know what we didn't know, and now we do. So when we know better, we do better, I guess.
Yeah. Well, I deal almost daily with clients who also battle with feelings of self-worth and limiting beliefs and negative self-talk and those kinds of things. And, my specialty is working with clients who don't enjoy being photographed. A lot of us don't. I don't. And so I understand that feeling. And part of it is, I think, because your inner view of yourself and your outer view of yourself don't necessarily match. And so that's the case for me. Like in my mind, I'm still a size 8, and it's been a while since I was a size 8. But I look in a reflection, or I look in at a photograph, and I'm just sort of startled, like, well, who is that, and how did she get here? But it's taken some time. But I mean, if you can work through it, and you can gain my goal is to help clients gain a level of self-acceptance and just to be like, hey, I like who I am. And as we get older, I think we start to like ourselves more and more because we stop believing all that stuff that we think we should be when we're in our 20s and 30s. And so it's kind of powerful stuff to think that we could be so much more than we originally thought. And what in my experience, photography has been a really great way of having the proof that we are pretty extraordinary. And so that's one of the reasons that I love what I do. And so this money mindset thing was a way to, if I can get over this, then I can help my clients even more because they're struggling with a lot of the same not enough feelings. And if I can conquer mine, then I can give them the tools to help conquer theirs.
Yeah, that's a great bridge. I was just thinking about that when overcoming yours, but it was a money mindset and how that affects your business, and yet how you perceive your business in order to be able to help people. And photography is really, I mean, it's an incredible art. I don't have the artist brain, but I appreciate good art. And so would you share a little bit of what you do? Let's say, you have a client and the client isn't extremely self-confident. What does that look like in your world and working with your clients? What does that look like, and how do they start? They probably start where they might be slouching or, not sitting up straight. Kind of, would you mind walking through a little bit of what are some of the tools and techniques you use to help them overcome their I'm not enough to become self-confident in your world?
Well, interestingly, that all that starts long before the camera comes out. I do a pre-consultation with all of my clients so that we can talk about what they want for their businesses, what their goals are, who they want to be to their clients, how they want to be perceived by their clients, what their dream images would look like. But really, the images are sort of secondary. Because once we figure out what your brand is and who you want to be and how you want to connect and communicate with your clients, and then we talk about your marketing channels. Are you doing stuff through social media? Are you doing stuff through printed marketing? Are you doing things, direct marketing? What kind of things are you looking to do? How do you want to reach your clients? We also work on identifying who that ideal client is and what do they need you to be. Do they need you to be a cutthroat? Do they need you to be empathetic? Do they need you to be friendly and approachable? Do they need you to be smart? You know, what is it that you want to be for them? What is your strength and your personality? And I try to dig into all of that because, you know, if you're coming to me, you have a business and you love it and you want to make it better. And that's generally the people who come to me. They're ready to get to that next level. And in order to do that, they've realized that they need to start stepping up their game and start showing up as themselves. Because I think for many business owners, and it's not only business owners, it can be people who work as executives in a big job at a company, and they become sort of a brand within a brand. You know, you have your corporate heading, and then but you also have the specialty that needs to be highlighted, and that could come through public speaking or, you know, writing a book or things like that. So what I like to do is just really get to know my clients, get to know their businesses, and have them have clarity about what they want and who they want to be. So that we can show it off in the pictures. So once they have clarity and they see that I get it and they can communicate it and I can understand it and we can both be on the same page, then it gets exciting, because then we get to really sit down and think, okay, how can we bring in your unique personality and your personality, your business brand and target audience, and then your business identity. What do you want that to look like? Is it more lifestyle? Is it more behind the scenes? Is it more like straight business owner? What does it look like? And so that's when we start to get creative with the shot list. You know, what are our locations? What are our poses? You know, are you going to be like this, looking straight to the camera? Or are you going to be like looking away with a laugh? You know, are you going to be sitting on your countertop with a glass of wine? Or are you going to be, you know, walking in your environment or walking through the streets of New York? You know, like, what is it going to look like? And then the client starts to get excited and they start to realize that that there's so much more to their dream, and that so much more they can show, and so many more ways that they can to reach out to their clients. And they generally have, you know, some unique talents that make them special. So if they're an accountant, for instance, they have the ability to, you know, see through the numbers, or to be really, really friendly, or to be very hands-on and help you dig through the numbers. You know, there's different approaches to each person's brand, and maybe they're also funny, or maybe they're also like super fashionable. So we can take those things and sort of blend them together to this unique visual brand, and it makes it super exciting. And then once the shoot part happens, then that's a little bit different. So we start with hair and makeup, and that makes everybody feel more relaxed, because my hair and makeup artist has been working with me for 6 years. She's incredible, and she does makeup your way. And then they come into the room with me, and we start getting to work. And the most important part of this process is figuring out how to uncover their personality. You know, we tend to put these barriers, these layers in front of ourselves, these protective armor, you know, to keep our fragile personality kind of protected. But my superpower is to try to sort of like reach through that and get rid of all that, so that I can help find your true personality. So a lot of times I find clients who've like never liked the pictures that have been taken of them, because it doesn't feel like themselves. You know, it doesn't feel like they feel bubbly or energetic, and it doesn't come across as that, or their smile doesn't feel genuine, or they don't know how to pose right. And so I walk them through every expression. We would look through their pictures together to see what matches their brand. And then all of a sudden this sort of spark will happen, and we're like, there it is. That's the one. And then they start seeing it, and they thought, oh, that's it. Yes. Okay. All right. Now I'm more comfortable. And then all of a sudden, all that armor just disappears. And so now we can have fun. Now we can play. Now we can really dig into the brand. We can really think about like, ooh, this shot looks like you're looking into the future, and this one looks like you're looking into the past. And we can do all kinds of different things with mood and expression and posing and location and exposure and all those kinds of things. So I help walk them through that, but it's all very intuitive to me, because some clients need me to be you know, they're nervous, but they like to be educated. So I tell them exactly why I'm doing what I'm doing, and exactly what the pose means, and why I'm doing the things. Other clients need to be distracted. So talk, click, talk, click. And other people they just want to leap in and go for it. So it really just depends on the person. So I have to sort of become what they need from me in order to get to who they are. And so, yeah, it all really starts with that conversation. It's all very relational to me. It's not, the technique sort of happens in the background by autopilot, things that I've been doing for years and years, but it's the connection to the client that makes the difference.
Well, and I love this. I was thinking as you were talking, you actually get to see the transformation. A lot of times when we're doing introspective work, people don't see it. And sometimes it takes a while. And maybe in your work, it does take a while. But I would think from the time that you have your meeting and then, of course, going through the process, it might be a quicker, turnaround time, so to speak. So you actually get to kind of see how it evolves and how their self-confidence and their personality comes out. So I love that. Absolutely. And I have had bad pictures. I understand exactly what you're saying as far as, somebody who just coming and taking a photograph. There's a difference between taking a photograph, being an artist in the world of photography, and really being able to capture. So that's exciting work.
It's so gratifying because you really do see the transformation. I had this amazing client, and she started her business about 1.5 years ago, and she went to a local place and had a picture taken, and it was really cheeseball looking picture. And then we did her first shoot, and it was very connective and a little bit more business ownery. And then we just did another one in New York at this incredible wide scale overlooking all of Manhattan. We were in the World Trade Center on the 24th floor with these beautiful buildings and the Staten Island Ferry in the distance. And it was just the difference in how her business looks now compared to how it looked 1.5 years ago visually. It's the difference between I have a little accounting shop and I have a national or international brand running with the top 5 companies. So it's powerful what a photograph can do for your business, and how just the overall, not just the portraits of you, but the imagery that you use throughout your website, throughout your social media marketing or your brochures or whatever, like that stuff all tells a story. The color scheme, the mood, all of it tells your story at a glance, and that's really, really important. So that's the beauty of it. I love it.
I mean, you're really invested in their business. You're really a partner, invested, helping to make them successful and helping them to take and empower them as a business owner or as an executive. And so I commend you on that, because again, that's what a lot of the Penny Z show is finding your inner power, finding your self-confidence, and really just breaking through the chains to be able to come the best version of yourself. So Stephanie, you're helping people in a different way, in a unique way that we haven't quite explored on the Penny Z show. So thank you so much for that. And you do have luggage, so it sounds like you travel, for our listeners.
Yeah, I do. I have luggage and I do travel.
Well, Stephanie, we're coming to a close, but before I do, I first want to thank you for being on the Penny Z show, sharing your personal story, but also sharing how that transition and your money mindset has helped you really in your business to be able to help your clients. I would love for our listeners to know how to get a hold of you. So will you share with them how they can reach out and connect with you?
Absolutely. My website is simpsonportraits.com, and you can email me at stephanie@simpsonportraits.com. I'm happy to talk to anybody.
Fantastic. And like always, for our guests that are on the Penny Z show, her information will also be on the pennyzshow.com website. Make sure to like, share, tweet, follow us on social media. The podcast will be on, as well as all of her information, and promoting Stephanie through the Penny Z show as well. So any last words of wisdom or thoughts that you'd like to share for our listeners?
Well, I'm super passionate about breaking through those barriers. And I think that once you can break through the things that are holding you back and eliminate as much negative self-talk as possible, that there's really no limit to who we can be and what we can achieve in our lives. And my dream is to look out in front of a sea of people and know that there all those negative thoughts going through their head have disappeared, and that they were able to make the most out of the lives that they were given. And if I can be a small part of that, then my life will have been well spent. So
That's great.
I really encourage people to, whenever you hear negative self-talk going through your mind, to just squash it and know that you're an extraordinary person, and are never going to repeat yourself in the world. You are totally and wholly unique, and we are all blessed to have you.
Thank you, Stephanie. That's a great way to end, and we're kindred spirits in that thought. So I would just like to thank again Stephanie Simpson for being on the Penny Z Show. Thank you all for listening, and everyone have a great day.
Thank you so much for listening. If you want to hear more, including specific ways to empower yourself, go to thepennyzshow.com.